Hello, everyone. Welcome for another episode of The Power of Story. I'm so excited to be with you again for another week where we go with KPIs. These are key people of influence, and I have one on the air today, Miss Alexis Moore. I'm so excited to have her on today. I'm talking about this woman is a change agent from Smoothie King franchises to making sure you get in shape. Hey, just looking at her inspiring me. I'm exchanging some meals now. I'm getting meal smoothie in. I had to stop making sure I put down fried everything. So, but at the same time, she's definitely an inspiration. And I just wanted to share a little bit about her and what you can expect when you work with her. That when you work with Alexis of a more fit body, you will receive the accountability, motivation, and education you need to reach your fitness goals and start leading a happier and healthier life. After evaluating your current fitness level and helping you establish a healthy goal, she will design a program specific to you. Your program will include comprehensive assessment, progressive exercise techniques, personal training workouts, and constant reinforcement of a healthy lifestyle. Start living a healthier life with Alexis Moore, a great fitness trainer in Houston and surrounding areas. And I'm saying worldwide because we are truly blessed and grateful to be able to have her on the show. You might see her doing panel discussion. You might see her doing keynote speeches. I'm sharing a little bit about it. As you say, well, wait a minute, Darren. Did you just say this? And did you say she was a Smoothie King franchise owner? I will let her tell you that. That's why we have her on the Power Story. So welcome, Alexis Moore. We thank you so much for coming on and blessing us with your presence today.
Thank you, Darren, for that amazing introduction. Like, I don't even know how to follow that myself, talking about myself, right? That was definitely good. So thank you.
Anytime, Alexis. And Alexis, if you don't mind, I think people, and I've been able to hear you share, and I've been able to hear you do keynotes and see you on panels and see you win awards and so on. But could you just share with people who don't know the journey that you've been on? I think it's easy for us to magnify and see your glory, but a lot of us don't understand your story. So could you show us and share with us your story and the evolution process of how you become the magnificent woman that you are today?
Thank you. I'm already getting emotional. Right, the story part. That's the part people don't see. They don't see that the process part. Well, I actually grew up in Lake Jackson, Texas, like 30 minutes outside of Houston, Texas, and then I went to Texas Southern University here in Houston on a full basketball scholarship. But growing up back home, I grew up with a speech impediment called a stutter and a stammer, as people say. But growing up, I never really focused on it. I never really, magnified it. It wasn't until after college, when I no longer had sports to hide behind, that I had to face the real world, right? And with the real world comes interviews coming. You have to speak. You can't hide from speaking. It's a part of life, communication. And so I was put in a position to where now I had to face my stutter out front. And I had to learn how to cope with it, deal with it. And that was a very hard, trying time for me. And so it wasn't until after I had my daughter 7 years later that my speech had got really bad there. And it had got so bad to where I couldn't even get words out. Like, it got so bad to where I went on a job interview and the man asked me to sing my answers to him. Right, to sing my answers. Could you imagine being in an interview? One, you already get nervous on interviews. Everybody does, right? And so I'm nervous and I have a stammer and he knows it, right? The interviewee. And so he's asking me to sing my answers because people who stutter, when they sing, they don't. It kind of just flows with the breath flow. And so after that, that actually changed my life in that process. And with me having my daughter, I was overweight, right? I was 220 when I had her. And I learned how to control my my breath flow and my breathing through fitness and through exercise. And so that's how the a more fit body came to effect not only physically, but having a nice body, getting in shape, doing competition and shows, but mentally and emotionally helping me overcome my fear of public speaking, overcoming the thoughts of what others thought about my speech and my stutter, whether my head twitch or whether I got nervous and froze up, right? And so all of that like definitely helped me become a more fit body, wanting to inspire people and help them overcoming that number one fear, which is public speaking in itself. And that has to do with also feeling confident in who you are. And so that's the story, some of the story which led me to here with you.
And I know some of you are taken aback by that. Are you telling me, wait a minute, Darren, are you mean this woman that is on this show, you mean to tell me that she really had an issue with stuttering or had a speech impediment? Yes, that is true. And did you just say, Darren, that you seen her winning awards, you seen her doing keynotes? And so just me personally, I want the audience, those who are listening out there, to realize that anything is possible. You know, I'm just hearing different things from the weight loss and overcoming certain issues, far as looking at how you're looking physically, and then also the emotional turmoil you can go through by thinking to yourself, because you can be your worst critic or your worst enemy because you're beating yourself up worse than the actual event happening. So I could only imagine being in your shoes, or let's say in your heels, depending on what we're talking about here.
Like my heels.
Yeah. I don't know. Might have them red bottoms on or something, girl. I didn't know, but you know. But at the same time, I could only imagine how that would impact or affect every area of your life. Because when you would make a decision, you would have to have that in the back of your mind, chatting. Well, what are you going to do about this? You know the situation that you're in. Well, that means that you're going to have to speak. So all those different areas. And I just want to bring that up to this point of the interview and ask you, through that story or through that evolution, what are like 3 steps or 3 principles that you learned out of that you gleaned out of that story, of your own story, that you want to share with our audience that are transferable skills?
Absolutely. Man, there's so much. I get just excited about where he's brought me to going through that process, right? And so there's 3 things that that has helped me. And one is, he told me that my God says that, you know, your pit will prepare you for the position God has promised you, right? And it's what you do in that pit time when you're in that down state, your lowest, right? Everybody low looks different. And so when I was in my lowest, I started to prepare myself, right? So that's one thing that you say, and I always say, you have to always stay in the preparation mode. You're always preparing for when that moment comes, right? And so I would say every day from 8 to 9, I watch Joyce Rogers. From 9 to 10, I'm watching TD Jakes. And I'm a note taker. So I'm writing down notes, I'm listening, I'm feeding my spirit daily. So it's what you do every day. And so once you prepare and you get yourself there, you have to put yourself in position to receive his promises, right? Put yourself in position. There's not times where it's going to come to you. And so at that time, I started making myself go through drive-throughs there and just to order food, just to get comfortable talking. And that's some things that people take daily, every day, as if nothing. But for me, it was, I have to start speaking more, getting afraid of speaking. And so, you know, going through drive-through, people don't see you. So that was the first step for me, right? So you got to slowly build your comfort zone up, right? To the point to where now I got comfortable with that. Now I can get in front of people. Now I can feel confident with that because I've outgrown that. And so, you know, I started going through drive-thrus, getting better speaking. And then I went and saw a speech therapist at one point. Quick story. At one point, the speech therapist was like, "You're fine one-on-one with me. You don't need to come see me no more." And I'm like, it's not when I'm one-on-one. It's when I'm ready to go see the world. I want to get outside of my one-on-one communication. Right. And so it's preparing yourself, putting yourself in position, and then it's believing in yourself the next part, the final stage, is belief. We all believe in God, as I say, but it's, do you believe in God inside of you? Do you believe in who you are, the greatness that's within you? And that's my one of my favorite scriptures is, greater is he that is within you. And I think it's that part that we miss out on. It's like, oh, God's good, but do you believe he's good in you? Can you do the work that he's called you to do? And that's the promise, right? That's why I say how the pit has prepared you for the promises God has promised you, because he has his promises for you, but we have to go through that process, pit stage, some of us, in order to get there. And so it's putting yourself in position, believing in yourself, working through your own process and what that's looking out looks like for you. And he says that greater is he, right? It's that person that I think people, if you feed that person continually, there's no reason why you wouldn't succeed, right? I get excited believing and knowing that if you feed that greatness, right? And it's not easy. It's not, by far hard, but I say that the road to success comes with suffering, it comes with sacrifice, and it comes with the social part. So all that leads to success, and we don't want to go through the sacrifice, suffering part, right? We want to skip all that. And God told me that I had to, allow you to have your daughter be overweight, not wanting any kids, go through all that in order to get over your fear of speaking. Now I can give you your promise because you've worked through all that. Now you're deserving of something we want. We don't even deserve them, right? And so it's kind of like you have to go through that. I know I went on there. I get excited sometimes.
Hey, this is why this is the power of story. You are at home and you can carry on the way that you want to.
Going on.
I mean, because this podcast is here to help people, and those who are listening, I know they're thinking to themselves, please, Alexis, continue to go on, because they are hungry. They're ready to continue to grow. They're here for a purpose in the listening. I'm just thinking about what you're talking about feeding your greatness. I love that, feeding your greatness. Which one are you going to feed? Are you going to feed the wolf of fear, or are you going to feed the wolf of faith? And so that is a choice that we make daily, and you have to make sure that you're cognizant and also make sure that you're intentional. And when I'm looking at what you shared with us, I'm looking at how intentional that you were about your growth, the drive-through. Listen to TD Jakes and others. Make sure that you continue to work on yourself. You didn't just say, I'm not saying you didn't have moments. We all have moments, but you didn't let your present state define your future. You didn't allow that to define what your purpose was. And so even the simple things of just going through the drive-through, I mean, right there, practice made perfect, so to speak, but getting those reps in. It's all about the small wins.
It's the small
So if you could just get through there, it might be a cup of this, or I might just want this yogurt. I might be, if I'm ordering something for my kids or a family member, if I can do that. And for those who are listening right now, listening to Miss Moore, I want you to think about yourself in your own personal life. Some of you might be to go up the corporate ladder. Some of you might be, okay, how do I handle this situation with a family member? I know a family reunion is getting ready to come up. We haven't spoken in a while. What can I do? How can me and my wife, or how can me and my husband, how can we get this thing right? How can I take incremental steps to be able to get where I know we need to be? And that's going to the step of putting yourself in position. I love this, as Pastor Mine has shared, preparation precedes blessings. And so when I'm hearing Alexis Moore's story, I'm thinking to myself, wow, she's positioning herself to be where she needs to be. She didn't just, if she doesn't ever show up in the land of Canaan, she can never reach the promised land. She got to at least be like Abram and then leave the land of Ur, the land of the Chaldeans, to be able to have that manifest destiny, to even be in position to have the promise. And so when we think of promises and we're thinking about these stories, I'm just thinking about, to you, what was that defining moment? I know you had several things. What was that defining moment that led you on the path that you are on now? So it's one thing to say, okay, I need to get fit. It's one thing to say, okay, I need to work on my speech. But what has allowed for you to shift into the perspective of where Now you're not only helping with your taking care of your own health, but you're inspiring and helping others with their health. You not only did enough to be able to do a drive-through, now you're doing keynote speeches. Now that you work for somebody before, now you are a franchise owner multiple times over now. So what was that snap, that epiphany, that aha moment that led you on the journey where you currently are?
That moment was, I remember clearly driving. I went to see a neurologist, Darren, and he put me on some medication for anxiety, right? Nerves and calming of the nerves. And I took that medication for about a week. And I remember driving around 610 Loop, calling my grandmother and saying, Grandma, I'm not taking this medication no more. And I was like, I don't feel like myself. I don't feel like I'm, myself, bubbly, happy, my own person. And I said, you know what? If God created me this way with the stutter, I'm just going to deal with it. And every day I started telling myself, I am a great speaker. And I said this prayer to myself. I said, Father God, allow me to become so secure in my insecurity that I don't even look at it. Right. And so in that moment, that insecurity that I had about my speech, I no longer magnified it. We tend to make the micro macro. He's not looking at that. Right. He doesn't care about that. In that moment, driving around 16, I said to myself that, it doesn't matter about your speech. Whatever he has called you to say or do, that he will be with you in that moment, and you'll be able to deliver whatever message. And my grandmother told me, she said, baby, before she passed, she said, in that moment, baby, open mouths, open doors. And that was the moment that shifted for me, because I knew that I have many doors that I want open. And the only way for those doors to open up, the only way for me to go into the bank and ask for $300,000 for a Smoothie King is if I got over that fear of speaking, right? If, I was able to open my mouth in order to speak life into the situations or things that I wanted. And so every day, even till now, every morning, I tell myself I am a great speaker. And that's another law called the Moses Law, which is a speaking that I say to myself, right? I am. And that's the power of I am. And that's, I believe that if more people use that in that moment, and that's why I have such a passion for people, for women, for kids with the speech impediments, those who have low self-esteem, those who are overweight, right? I believe my speech impediment, knowing what it feels to be insecure, knowing what it feels like to be looked at or stared at, like I'm able to relate to so many other people on all levels because of that. And he has, given me this gift, of being able to put myself in other people's shoes in order to help them. And that's why a more fit body is not just about looking good on the outside, but doing the work on the inside to look good everywhere, right? To be able to show up, to be able to ask for what you want. And so I'm just truly blessed, and I, know that. And so I appreciate that. And it's just been, those are the one moment I can say that changed my life, was saying open mouths, open doors, and keep speaking that.
Wow. And I want to just go back to, and I want to thank you for sharing that. I told you she was going to drop value bombs. I mean, y'all see me kind of ducking left and right over there. She was hitting us with all kind of value bombs over there. I started moving out the way. I thought it was Hiroshima or something again. When I'm looking at this, I'm just if you could just take your time just to sit back and just sit there and just let it marinate like a good T-bone steak on you real good, that you could just understand to yourself, like, wait a minute, this woman took advice. She could have thought that, grandma don't know what she's talking about, and I'm bringing that up because it didn't come from someone from Wharton School of Business, didn't tell her that. It came from her grandmother. Something that was so simple, but yet profound.
Right? I get excited. I'm so grateful.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, something so simple.
It's 4 words. When you really think about
That's it.
It's 4 words, right? Open mouths, open doors. forward.
That's it. Now, how are you going to take that? How are you going to digest it? How are you going to change your perspective? Because if you change your perceptive or your perception, you're going to change your reality. And I thought about that too when you were saying it. It was funny you brought that up, but I thought about Moses when I was hearing you saying that the whole time, and I was thinking to myself, like, man, that was the same thing that Moses was going through at the same time. And then you brought it up, and I'm just saying for those out there right now, wherever you are, don't let something that you feel like that's a struggle or a pain point, don't let that hinder you from walking into your destiny, from being who you were called to be. And I want to bring this up as well that I really learned from Miss Moore with this is you have to speak life into the situation. You know, she didn't have to wait on everybody else to speak life. She chose to speak life daily. It was an exercise. She created a successful habit of speaking life into herself. Surely she could hear the giggles from somebody looking at her being overweight. Yes, she could hear someone might have laughter or have something that wasn't positive to say by her with her speech impediment at that current time that she was delivered from. But you have to look at your own personal life and think to yourself and professional life and say, okay, you know what? Me not being able to handle the books right might be my speech impediment. You know, me not knowing marketing might be my speech impediment. Me not being able to get in front of a crowd or not understanding sales might be my speech impediment. You see what I'm saying? Me not being and looking appropriate when I go into an environment because I haven't did the background work, or you know what, me how I handle a business meeting or when I'm gone on a business trip, that could be a character issue that even though everything else looks good, it's a facade. And really, I got an oasis in the desert look with my social media platform. So no matter where you are, she's looking at the total man and a total woman, finding a way for you to be healthy spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially. This is what I'm getting out of Mrs. Moore's story. And when we think of your story, Miss Moore, and we see how inspirational that you are to so men and women and boys and girls. And so I want to know who inspires you?
Who inspires me? Well, there's, not only is TD Jakes, my pastor don't even know it, right? I do have a spiritual pastor here, here in Houston, Pearland. But an inspiration, it's my family. It's my mom, my sisters. My mom has 7 sisters, all women, and they're all strong women, no brothers. And my mom inspires me every day. My mom bought her house making $9 an hour, right? Growing up, my mom always told us that, as women, as girls, that there's a certain kind of strength that we have inside. And so we can't give up. We can't quit. And she showed me that. She is an inspiration to me. And my dad stuttered, which is where I got this, there's some genes that are passed down. And so my dad's inspiration of still working, of still grinding, of, putting us in sports because he saw that gift inside of us to where, he knew that we'd stuttered. So he was like, I'm going to put my girls in something that they're not going to allow that to, deter them or make them feel less than. So finding your kids' gifts and allowing that to shine. And so they're my inspiration. And so I pulled the strength from them and from my grandmother. My family is so amazing there, and the support I get from them, even with going through my speech, going through that process, and knowing that God gave me something. And he said, God chose you. Now you choose you, right? And that's what I said to myself for a long time. That's my inspiration, right? Of knowing that he chose me. And so it's our responsibility to choose ourselves, right? We're here because he chose us. So now you choose you. Now you become the best you that you can be. And so it's in that inspiration that I find comfort. I find, strength. I find peace in knowing that he chose me, and it's my responsibility, it's my job to choose me. And so I'm just grateful for that. So my family would be definitely my inspiration for my my strength and drive.
Well, I love that. You need to choose you. You got to choose you. I love that, Alexis. I mean, you choosing you. For those out there, you have to choose you, knowing it's your season to be in the best health that you can be. It's your season to open that business, to start that career, to at least apply for the position. Even if you say, hey, I like my job, I love my employment, Darren, but you know what? Think bigger. At least if you see something that's available, at least fill out for it. At least, you know, blow the smoke or the dust off your resume and submit it, email it, do something different, or go on a trip or try something unique. Do something. Do something. Choose, choose you. It's time for you to stop being mad, because a lot of times I'm finding out, Alexis, just through my own private research, is that when people aren't going for their goals, when they're not going big enough, it's a dissatisfaction that they find within, because they know that they're capable of more. And so without them knowing it, it's just like in sociology with displacement anger. You'll start finding anger that they're taking out on others or different situations, because they know it's more in them that they're not utilizing, that they're not expanding. And I think when I hear your story, you, to me, or you're the poster child of what it means to get outside of the box, to get outside of your comfort zone. And even though it might not be ideal, even though it can be a struggle, that you can overcome any obstacle. And hey, let's just use a little scripture in them, that you're more than a conqueror, And so when you knowing who you are and speaking life, I think that is great. And when I'm looking at all that you've been able to accomplish, Alexis, could you just share with us, what is the future of Alexis Moore? Whether it's health-wise, spiritually, business, what are some goals that you have now, since you've accomplished so much? And I know this is just the beginning for you. This is the infancy stages. We haven't seen anything yet. So what do you hope that your legacy will be?
Darren, thank you. Thank you for those kind words. I am, we're in the process, me and my sister, of opening up the Smoothie King franchise in Lake Jackson. And so this, being young Black women, this for us is a huge step outside of our comfort zone, right? We've both been in corporate America for the past 12 years. And so, the future for me is to continue to grow more franchises. And health-wise, I'm going to have a Pilates studio for women. And then I'm in this organization called Women Speak. And with Women Speak, I'm going to allow women that, that have a desire to speak, and that who want to get more comfortable doing public speaking, but don't know how, don't know where to go, where to start. That's the ultimate goal for me, is to have that sacred place for them to be able to come and practice their public speaking, practice asking for what you want, knowing what that confidence is, because I think it's different. There is a difference, I believe, with having confidence and having courage, right? You can be confident in yourself and know, but do you have the courage that he said you have to go ask for it? And so it's moving from that phase to the courage phase, the boldness that he said, be bold and courageous. And I think that's my ultimate goal for Alexis Moore, is to give people a platform to develop their boldness and courageous to ask for what you want. There are some things we do not have for it, because it's like we do not ask for it. And it's in the asking of and building up the courage and the boldness. And so I will be one of the best speakers out there when it comes to transformation of lives through habit change, because I always say it's the sum total of what you do every day that makes up the person who you want to become. Right, we're always becoming more of who we want to be. Like you said, we don't stop here. I believe we go from glory to glory, and we know at each level also comes different challenges and struggles. But the goal is to keep climbing, and so that's the platform that I want to be able to give women, to show my daughter, to leave that legacy for her, knowing that anything she wants is on the other side of the fears that she has, right? Because we all have certain fears, but God said it's everything you want is on the other side of your fears, and you will move from fear to freedom, if you're willing, right? If you're willing to go through that sacrifice and those struggles. And so that's my legacy, is to help women, children, all women or men who deal with that. More men deal with stuttering than women. I've ran into very few women that stutter, that have to deal with this with the stammer and overcoming. And so that's my ultimate legacy that I want to be able to leave for them.
You know what? And I'm glad that you shared that, Alexis, because that's been my finding too. That I found more men that I knew of that stuttered compared to women. But either way it go, I think you just really bring about hope by just anybody who's listening to this story or hear you speak. And I have no doubt that God is not going to open up those doors for you just to encourage and empower so many people across the globe. And I'm just thinking, hey, but I just wanted to know y'all was able to hear it on the Power of Story. So, when my girl blowing up like Octane. So when y'all see her and y'all say, well, man, what is the woman that was on the Power Story? Like, yeah, with that Southern guy, that country guy, Darren, she was on the episode. So I want to bring this up too before we go, for the time is spent. I have to bring this up. Think about whether it's podcast or what you're reading, the whole nine. By listening to the story of Alexis Moore, I want you to understand the importance of your network. You have to network with people, because like I have the privilege of networking with Alexis. When you got others that's around you who are winning, who are having successful habits, it's infectious. It's going to come on you. You won't have excuses that you can have, because you're seeing what others around you are doing. And then when they hear your story, they're inspired by your story. And I just want you to not miss this, because of the connection we had. Is why I'm thank God that she came onto the show. But at the same time, what are you willing to do to get around the right people? I don't want y'all to miss that. Whether it's her listening to TD Jakes, or if it's the podcast that you listen to, for those who are listening to this podcast, whether it's what you're reading, what you're practicing, and also that human connection of being around people that are good, genuine people who want to see you successful, or people that you have something, a common denominator that y'all all want to help and be beneficial to others, and you want to grow as well. So when you hear this episode, this is because of a connection. Some people on the show, I might haven't met them in person, but I've been able to meet Miss Alexis Moore in person, and she is who she is on this podcast. I've been able to see some of the maturation process myself. It's not like I grew up and we put on the playground, but seeing her and knowing some of the things that she had to come through, and I'm just looking at like, wow. Every time I see her, it's not proper English, but I'm gonna say it how my grandma would tell you. It gets gooder and gooder and gooder. You know what I'm saying? Now y'all catch that up later on. So it gets gooder, but it's great to see someone, because it lets you know wherever you are in your life, whatever your story is, that you can change the narrative and you can be who you decide that you want to be. With God, it's nothing impossible. So just keep your eyes on the prize, but choose yourself. Believe in yourself. Use the power within, and there's nothing that you can't do. If you have any lasting remarks, because I need to know, please share how they can get the training. How can they go get a smoothie? How can they get you for keynotes, workshops? Share all the information that you can right now, Alexis.
Yes, absolutely. You guys can find me at amoorefitbody@gmail.com, and that's 2 O's, AMOORE, fitbody.com. And you can book me there. You can get training sessions there. And you can also get my t-shirt line that's there called Doubtless Tees. Doubtless, because God wants you to doubt yourself less, right? Be doubtless and just go for it. And so you can get all my information from my website, amoorefitbody.com. And just know I'm out here. If you're in Houston, I travel too, so I don't care where you at. If you're looking for a speaker, you can definitely find me on there. Get my information, book me. I definitely know that God is doing great things in my life, and He wants me to be able to share that with others. To know that He is the same, as my grandmother said yesterday, today, and forevermore. And you should get excited about that. He is still the same. And I think as young entrepreneurs, as young minorities, we sometimes forget that part, right? But He is the same. And that to me means that if he gave them strength back then, right, with all they had to go through, the strength that we got is still there. So just go for it.
Awesome. Well, he's just to sum that up, he's no respecter of person. He's no respecter of person, Miss Moore. No respecter of more. If he did it for Moses, he can do it for you, girl. Come on now, somebody. What an offering plate there. I need the offering plate right now. I feel like sowing a seed right now. Where my checkbook at? Where my checkbook at? I'm going to sow a seed. I'm going to sow a seed to somebody right now. All right now. Anyway, but it's good to
if y'all do want to sow a seed, anybody who's listening, go to educate7.org. We have a scholarship bank. We have a scholarship. Me and my mom's sisters back at home, we give scholarships to kids every year in Brazoria County. And that website is called educate7.org. And you can get that from my site as well. But we give scholarships back to kids. When my grandmother passed, we put that in her name. And so it's educate7.org. And so that's dear to my heart, to my family's heart. And it is to empower the kids who persevere, right? Perseverance is the name of the game at the end of the day, right? Are you willing to persevere and endure through life? So thank you, Darren.
Anytime. Thank you. On that Educate 7, is that the number 7 or is spelled out 7?
Number 7.
Okay. I just want to make sure we had that right. I'm going to make sure that our team had that in the show notes as well. All that information about you, Ms. Moore. Once again, I want to tell you, thank you. We appreciate you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Let me know when you need me to come back or share or do anything. Thank you.
Anytime. We definitely going to have you back. We're definitely going to have you back. And I just want to send a shout out to all of you who tuned into this podcast. You all are the true MVPs. By you getting up every day, you working to get better, working on yourself, just like Alexis Moore, with that drive through, I call it perseverance, where you continue to get better, listen to other thought leaders, change agents, thinking about what can happen for you by getting possibility in your mindset by listening to these KPIs and these planet shakers. You had a real one on today, Miss Alexis Moore. So once again, connect with her. Definitely, there's a lot of people I know who have companies, who have associations, corporate gigs. Please get her to come out for your event. Let her work with your staff. I guarantee you that you will see, you will get an ROI, because when you hear what she has to say, nobody can leave that room not being changed. So you definitely feel the impact. But until next time, I want you to be like my lady friend over here, Alexis Moore. If you want change, be the change. Until the next time, be great and be blessed.